Hello, welcome to another episode of the Magic Arena Run. Today we're going to be taking a look at another one of these stock decks. We're going to be trying out very aggressive white-red strategy. Originally, this deck was primed around tokens, and we're going to keep on that, but usually tokens have a problem when it comes to the late game. Now, what this deck originally did was, well, try to power through the late game. Basically, it tried to skip it altogether, hoping the stars aligned and all the damage hit. And it did have a copy of Siege Gang Commander near the end, I think, to give it some beef. But in the long run, basically with the number of sweepers, spot removal, and very good creatures nowadays, they're not. I don't think there are enough dirtly formats now. Even control decks, they have ways to mitigate your early game damage. And we already are in the era of 4 mana rat, thanks Kaya. So we're gonna try out a little something to see if we can get a better late game of sorts. Now we haven't ditched the early game. We still, but what we did was we spread things out a little bit. We hunted witness. Basically, it creates a token when it dies. It's probably gonna die a lot. Hazada Marshal, if I attack with enough creatures, makes tokens. Goblin Instigator makes a token by itself. Fanatical Firebrand, very quick hasty attacker. Basically, this one's just to get the quick third attacker for Hazda Marshal and Legion's Landing. A few copies of Mentor of the Meek to draw cards. Drawing cards is not bad. Legion War Boss, also very good stuff. Have a few ways to buff our creatures, basically a copy of Unbreakable Formation, Pride of Conquerors, notably the 3 copies of Heroic Reinforcements. Have some spot removal early on, got more lava coils in the board. Basically, the special sauce in the end is Divine Visitation, so we have a lot of token generators, but they all generate 1/1s, so if we can turn these 1/1s into 4/4 flyers, it makes a big difference. Actually, you can come out of nowhere, play this one, then next turn you play Heroic Reinforcements. That's basically 2/5/5 Flying Angels with Vigilance. Now, we do need to survive combat early, so we actually keep a pair of Integrity Intervention. That said, this one will usually get sided out. Also trying out Huatli here. She also makes tokens. And can slightly clear the board in a sense, basically make specific creatures not block. The life gain is kinda meek here. We're mostly using the middle and the last ability. Off the sideboard, 3 copies of Lava Coil, more copies to skewer the critics. Basically, if we sense our opponent slow enough, we can just shift towards aggro. Copy of Tajik if we're expecting a lot of red based removal. Copy of Lyra, basically that's part of our late game. Banefire as a nod to the control matchup. 2 copies of Siege Gang Commander. Usually, if I feel like the opponent has a lot of sweepers, I might just sub out the Visitation for Siege Gang instead. Kinjali Sunwing's also another way to clear the board of early attackers. I originally had slower, more universal removal like what's that one? I keep forgetting the name nowadays. That's not good for my memory, I suppose. I actually had Settle the Wreckage on the sideboard. Originally had some Conclave Tribunal main, but this one was way too slow for spot removal, even if it was universal. Same thing for Ixalan's Binding. It's just not the same as Cast Out. And I tried Settle the Wreckage also, but again, this one was... Again, I did not want to be sitting back on 4 mana. That was usually the problem. Now, there are several notable exclusions. I did not include the Leonin. Where's that Leonin? Here, I did not include Leonin War Leader. Although this probably is a good fit as well. The problem with, I guess this one, I guess you could sub this for Heroic Reinforcements. The catch is that you want something with haste as well. That said, this probably might be a better meta call in the long run. Maybe it might be a better substitution to Integrity Intervention, I suppose. But then again, the mana. But then again, I don't want to have a lot of 4s and a lot of 5s. Basically, six of them feel like too much, especially even if I cut down to 24 lands. I still feel like it's a lot. Now, we have a few copies of Memorial to Glory also because we do want our creature tokens in the late game. I originally had some copies of Stone Quarry or Boros Guildgate, but having them come into play tap is a very big liability. I'd rather if it comes into play tap, it does something better in the end like this. So I just sub those out for more basics. If you can fill these out, go for it. As it is, that's all I got. So without further ado, we're going to chug along into traditional. I might spend some time to do one more round of draft before I switch over to Ravnica Allegiance. But first things first, let's see how well we go. Oh yeah, while we're at it, turn that on. Not too. To be fair, I wouldn't say I've had decent amount of success. I had some success. It's kind of 50-50, which means because I am. If I say 50-50, it probably means 40 or less. Anyway, let's see how it goes. Again, the idea is we want to catch our opponent off guard. That said, I feel like this is a deck that plays against the player more than against the opposing deck. You have ways to catch your opponent off guard. That said, I'm also hoping. Okay, we got a game. Let's see how well it goes. Definitely want to be on the play. So we have a decent setup. A 1 into a 3, and we can play this turn 2 if we don't draw one of our 2 drops. I'm definitely keeping this. You really want to have a very active hand, which is kind of hard to do when you have a top end of when you have 6 cards that cost 4 or more. What substitutions we could do are like Goblin Gathering. That one's cheaper, but the +1/+1 and the haste is something you want to have. I tried running copy. I still have a copy of Pride of Conquerors. That's a legacy leftover. I used to have copies of Burn Bright. That one didn't. That one always kept getting sided out. The plus toughness might be relevant here. I kept Unbreakable Formation because, well, indestructible. That's still a thing if I'm not mistaken. So definitely, you want your opponent to be responding to your threats. You don't want your opponent to be playing out their own threats. So this is actually quite perfect. Now I am tempted to just hold that back for Mentor, but so far this is indicative of mono blue. I'm definitely siding in most of my spot removal. So I'll be slow for mono blue. I'm suspecting a Merfolk Trickster. So that's why this one doesn't cost me anything. If I'm playing it early, I am certainly not going to attack. I will play Mentor for Meek next turn. Now, depending on what he does, I can just Heroic Reinforcements, get the damage in. I could just Hunted Witness first and also draw some cards. The Mono Blue's been kind of the one matchup I've been trying to build up to, so definitely want to bring in the Lava Coils for Tempest Djinn. Once looking at the Mentor of the Meek like it's some dirty card. Probably gonna just play out the Hunted Witness, draw a card, see if I can draw another one of my small 1-drops, draw a card. It's probably the one matchup where I'm happy that I don't have to worry about an opposing Mentor. Sure, let's block. Only because I got nothing better to do. Sure, it wastes a trigger, but after, yeah, but with cards like Tempest Djinn, damage is gonna come out of nowhere. So I definitely want to draw into my 5th land soon. Okay, drew into my 5th land, so no attacks. Now our opponent's probably not going to attack with Merfolk Trickster. I might send these guys in. But the next thing we're going to do is play Divine Visitation first. Then Heroic Reinforcements will sideline it. Let's see if our opponent's is aggressive enough. He's probably going to... I want him to attack with Tempest Djinn. There you go. That's a good boy. It's a bonus if he attacks with Merfolk Trickster. He probably won't. That said, I'm not drawing into any cards, but I do want him to tap his mana out a bit. If he doesn't tap, I might just play the Heroic Reinforcements, try to bait a counter spell. Okay, he didn't tap. As I said, I'm going to try to bait a counter spell. I'm very sure the deck list has counters like spell Pierce and whatnot. Yeah, he's looking at it. He's definitely going to counter it. I'd rather him counter this than counter the Divine Visitation because I have plans for that. There you go, there's a good spell Pierce. Now that said, I'm still going to attack with these two. It's probably going to just let those through. See if he blocks when I just get to draw a card. Okay, Legion War Boss, that's also another thing I can get through. Yeah, having this much mana floating is kind of scary. Aside from Spell Pierce, he also the deck has the 2 mana counter target creatures, so it's hard for me to say which of these I want to play. I'm going to just take the beats like a good boy for now. I will play the Legion War Boss next. Oh wait, he's attacking with both. Okay, perfectly fine. Actually, I'm only going to block with one. He probably didn't have anything. I'm going to play Legion War Boss, then save the Pride of Conquerors. Floating this much mana is very unusual. I'm expecting... there's the Terramander. Expecting more creatures come down now. There's another Terramander. You could still have a counter. I'm gonna play this first. No, this is gonna be sad. I'm gonna end up not having anything to Divine Visit after this. Yeah, here comes the counter spell. There's the Essence Capture. He's gonna buff that. That's okay. I'm gonna attack with everything. Let's see if I can... This will tempt him to block with Terramander. Okay. Or not. If he doesn't block, I'll probably play the Pride of Conquerors anyway. But I have to take note. I'm gonna take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, is it? Not quite. Okay, let's play the Pride of Conquerors now. So that gives me a little. That gives me an extra damage buffer. He only has 2 spells, so it costs 6 mana to. Costs 6 mana to buff this. He's probably just gonna attack with everything. Trying to figure out what his counter spell plan is. Also been stuck on 4 lands for quite a while, so that might be something. Okay, so we'll play this first. Let's see this eat another Spell Pierce. which is actually kind of okay. I want it to spell pierce this rather than this. Say a weird game of this, not that. Wizard Retort. Okay, that's good too. So I'm going to Trickster. Not that. Sure, that's okay. No attacks. So I take 4, 5, 6, 7. I go down to 1. Slight, kind of unlikely for me to win. Also, I'm I can only get damage through. I'm probably not gonna win, especially if I draw cards like slightly mana flooded. Let's see. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That only gets me to 9. He probably has another counter spell then. Let's just bait the counter. So this is a counter heavy version of the deck. So okay, let's see, maybe I can draw something off this. Legion's Landing's not gonna do it. Actually, no. That's a shame. Let's just pay this one. Pay the Legion's Landing. We get to flip it, but it doesn't really do anything. Close, but not close enough. Kinda wish we had one of our buff spells also. So at this point, yeah, that's the closest we're gonna get. I'm gonna just concede at this point. Have to be careful with conceding if your opponent's about to attack. You might accidentally double concede. So, knowing what our opponent has, Skewer comes in, Lava Coil comes in. Kinjali Sunwing might come in, but the last time I did this, our opponent had also Entrancing Melody, so that turned into a bust. So I'm gonna drop the Unbreakable and the Pride of Conquerors. Drop Huatli. Drop 1 Divine Visitation. Let's see, I'm keeping everything else. Let's drop the Hunted Witness. Let's also drop the Integrity Intervention. So our opponent is counter heavy. I don't remember if the deck also will play Dive Down as well. Probably have to assume that it's playing a lot of Dive Down and whatnot. Getting all your stuff counters really is quite horrible. Guess that's what means your opponent's broken. But you have to play your game too. You can't just keep waiting on your opponent. I have to mulligan this one. This one's keepable. We have a turn 1 play. I just need to draw another land. That's not another land. So we might lose this game right off the bat, but at least the logic with playing this kind of deck is your games end. You play games fast. They start fast, they end fast. And I'm gonna play Goblin Instigator next if he doesn't block with the Terramander. Actually, I'd play it anyway. I think you're blocking it. I might just Lightning Strike it now to get it out of the way. Nah. Let the block happen. Play out Goblin Instigator. The mono blue deck tends to have a lot of threats. The one threat I'm concerned with right now is Merfolk Trickster. So that's why I'd rather keep the Lightning Strike mana up. Oh, there's no Merfolk Trickster in my future. There's a dive down maybe, so at least I have an answer for that. I could use an answer for the mana problem though. So far, that actually was a good opportunity to snipe this, but I'd rather snipe a Merfolk Trickster. Unfortunately, I'm not sniping Tempest Djinn with this. I would also suspect he might get more aggressive. He might have a Tempest Djinn. Our other mana. It's probably not gonna block. It's just 2 damage. If he doesn't block, I play Mentor. If he blocks, I will strike it. So, no blocks. So one is probably gonna hold. Probably will just hold the Terramander back. He'll start swinging it ahead. I would like to draw a Skewer, though having to play 2 burn spells on something that could potentially be dived down or countered, probably not a good idea. Might as well just aim here if I have to. See if we can race this deck. Opponent's opting now, so that's a good sign. Wait. Yep, that's the second spell so far. I think our opponent is trying to look for something to defend with or something to play out. So we're definitely taking damage now. Okay, taking the full load. Siren Storm Tamer, that's okay. 4th land. He might have a counter, but I have to play. If he has a counter, I have to make him play it. I probably should attack first though. It's okay, Wizard's Retort, it's not too bad. So definitely swing with the whole team since I'm not blocking anytime soon. So we're hoping that next turn one of these get through. It takes 7 damage, we'll die next turn. You're pretty much living on a prayer with this deck. So, got 5, 10, 11. Promise, even if we play Heroic Reinforcements, it's not enough damage. Oh wait, he had... So, let's do the math actually. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm 1 short. I don't have enough to... I can nuke one, but I can't nuke the other. Doesn't give... Yeah, it's a good game. This is all I got. Turns out he had enough. If I drawn the Firebrand earlier, that would have been nice. So that was very close, but it's not too great. Again, being able to draw into more burn would be nice, but we kind of held off on it too long. We did another shot. Heck, if things go really badly, I'm willing to invest in another run, see how it goes. So definitely want to play first. So we got turn 1 Witness, turn 2 Instigator. Could use some more lands, but we probably will draw them over time. Wishful thinking. At least we got 3 things we can do. So it's not too bad. Would I have been better off playing with a life gain plan, like combination of Leon, like combo of the Leonin Morden and what's that? Johnny's Tridemate. No, Leonin Vanguard and Johnny's Tridemate probably would be better. Johnny's Welcome might actually be a good sideboard option as well. So I'm actually gonna pull back. Lightning Strike the first one. Let's just swing. Probably not gonna Lightning Strike the second one. I might have to Lightning Strike the second one. Actually, that depends. Well, we do it at 4th land, so I guess I am not Lightning Striking the second one. He has to block, so he goes down to 8. Then we got some extra power here. Okay, there's the black mana as suspected. I'm expecting a wild growth. Oh, Android for 2. That's perfect. Actually, no, we're not gonna bolt that. Stats game. Yeah, so there we stole a quick win. We stole a quick win off that one. Now, what do we do? Definitely want to have Sunwing in. Actually, no, maybe not the Sunwing. I'd actually prefer Tokali Honor Guard for this slot. So many comes into play battlefield battle triggers I need to shut down. Okay, definitely no Tajik. Let's play the Lava Coils and the Skewers. So let's cut Watley. Let's cut the Divine Visitations. Actually, no. Let's keep a Divine Visitation. Let's just cut the Pride, Unbreakable Formation. So kind of slightly gearing up for a later game. I will cut one Lava Coil. Actually, 2 might be too much. Let's also cut one Lightning Strike and cut one Hunted Witness. I might actually just cut both Hunted Witnesses. Put back the Divine Visitation. I definitely don't want to have Divine Visitation and Siege Gang Commander together, so I guess that should be okay. Cut down the mana curve slightly. So we need to be very aggressive with our mulligans. This might be a case where the London mulligan would be better for us. Oh, if you haven't heard what that is, what happens is you will draw 7 every time, but for every mulligan, you have to put one of those cards back in the back on the bottom of the library. I'm definitely keeping this card. Probably not the planes. So it's not just keeping for the sake of keeping. You get to see more cards, and you get to return the ones that are not that don't help you. Let's say you're set. So instead of random. Instead of a random -1, -2, -3, it's a calculated -1, -2, -3 for successive mulligans. Something that you plan around. That's actually quite good. Okay, this is a bit awkward. I'll play Fanatical Firebrand first. Expecting Branch Walker. This will be awkward if we... Okay, thank goodness you drew a land. First shot to creep. Okay, instigating. So we definitely have to play the Memorial to Glory, unfortunately, next turn. Actually, Wild Growth Walker. kind of want to draw into a land, so I did not. I can still attack with ease. And thank goodness he did not. He was suspicious of something else. I'm not gonna play the second skewer. Between the Jade Light Rangers and Wild Growth Walkers, I kinda wanna have burn. Sadly, I can't burn the Hydroid Crisis, but should. Again, same proposition. He will block. And it also means my skewer is live. Another Goblin Instigator. Unfortunately, I did not draw the land I need. So I need 2 running lands for Divine Visitation, and I'm probably gonna end up playing Goblin Instigator by then, so that's not too great. Branch Walker, so I'm not seeing things soon. It's quite aggressive in the land. Well, at least he's playing them too. Okay. I guess I could hold this one back. If I can encourage him to trade, just keep trading, that's perfect. I don't know if our opponent has sideboard Golden Domestic type. This looks like a... Just from what I see now and before, I'm suspecting the black is a splash. He's probably just gonna run Crisis out. Oh no, I think he's gonna wipe the board. Really need to draw. I'm still gonna just send everyone in. I need to bring the life total low enough so that I can start using these burn spells to the face. That said, that's a lot of green mana. Oh, they're gonna be. It's not too bad actually.
The wilds are my shield.
No, they're Hydroid Crisis. He can't cast. Well, he could cast for 0 if he wants. Probably not. Still need that mana. So this is if an opponent lost life, so I have to actually swing against him. Yeah, getting stuck on 3 mana is not great. I might just... I'm gonna ditch the mentor too. And just send everything. What the heck. Does our opponent actually have a counter spell? Not that few mana, thankfully. So I'm gonna have to unfortunately ignore Vivian at this point, which might be tough. I do need that 4th land soon. The 5th land is not that necessary anymore. Manwar Elves. That's a blocker. X equals 5. I suppose that's reasonable. It's certainly a weird way of casting it. Oh, you're holding back 1 mana? Wait. Yeah, holding back 1 mana is very curious. 2 mana. Okay, probably has a cast out. Well, I do get another mana, sort of. Probably, I do expect our opponent to have negates now. Oh no. Well, our opponent can't destroy it with her, thank goodness. I still have to swing on. Oh, he did have the negate. Wow. Okay, this is gonna be a problem. As much as I'd like to swing, yeah, just gonna pare it down a bit.
Okay,
it encourages
so
our
you've got
opponent to
claws.
attack. But in hindsight, I probably should have just attacked here. That was my best chance to win. That was a mistake. Because there's no way I was gonna pare this one down. Yeah, losing the Legion's landing was a big bust. Well, not getting any mana for a few turns was quite a bust to begin with, but yeah, the negate was killer. And thankfully we managed to take these guys out one by one. I'm still gonna keep the quite aggressive plan though. But now I think, yeah, hitting this one was kind of okay in that sense. Now that we know we're not gonna win this game on items. Yeah, between the negates and the stuff, it's gonna be hard to win. Let's see if we can win out of nowhere, but yeah, I haven't drawn a land in a while. I'm gonna concede this one right now. Just save some time. Save myself a little bit of the tilt. So Lyra's not a good fit. Tajik's not a good fit. I'm going to keep this one as is. Basically keep a very aggressive stance. We had enough burn to get through. We just kind of stumbled on this slot here. We were perfectly fine on the 1-3. Guess that means I will bring back a lightning strike, cut one heroic reinforcements. That said, the negate is going to be... Yeah, the negate's an issue, so you actually want to have cheaper spells. So this one's perfectly fine. So turn 1 Sacred Found... No. Let's play turn 1 Mountain, Fanatical Found. Turn 2, play this... Yeah, I don't expect... Well, let's see. If our opponent plays Llanowar Elves, I will just Lightning Strike it. Okay, nope. No Llanowar Elves. So, next turn I want to play Mentor of the Meek. Walk through. Okay, that changes it. Actually, no, I will. The problem is the Jade Light Ranger will put this at 5. Gets it out of range. I have to Lightning Strike it now. So unfortunately I'm put in a position where I'm the one who's not able to develop my board because our opponent is. Okay, that one's fine. And he's got a negate, so I do... Well, he ditched it. That's the good news. I'm actually gonna just play the Legion Marvels now. Send the token, knowing that if he blocks, I just sack the Firebrand. Okay. Guess that's okay. He still has to have his own cast out for this. So what are the things I'm afraid of? Well, people haven't been playing Ravenous Chupacabra recently, so that's something I'm thankful for. Okay, places. Okay, let's go for the mana now. In fact, I could just play Heroic Reinforcements, skip that. Let's get some creatures on the board first. Okay, it's 1 mana off from finality anyway. mentor this one. So he's actually blocking, which means he might do something big in the follow-up. At least his spot removal like Castlock's not gonna do much. Fortunately, it means his Daylight Ranger is fine. Vraska's Contempt. Oh, good. Thank you for ditching that. Let's force him to have the negate. He might have the cast out for War Boss instead. Cast it down. That's fine. So, say Mentor of the Meat next. Then our opponent ditched the Vraska's Contempt, so that was a surprise. Probably still has another cast down for Mentor though. Which would be a shame, I need those cards. Nordic Reinforcement's doing some good work. Let's see what our opponent's got. Hostage Taker, targeting Mentor. That's, I guess, okay. Unfortunately, I'm approaching finality. One damage is not worth it. I'll skip for the next turn. He might just end up playing my own Mentor, then playing one of his own guys. Yeah, shame I didn't draw the burn. But no, that's actually what I want to do now. I want to draw some burn. Let's get points left total lower. That's not it. So here, if I attack now, that puts our opponent down to 4. I guess I'm willing to risk it. So yeah, so we lose those guys. Put our opponent down to 4. So so assuming there's no board sweeper, Lightning Strike or Skewer will do it. Even if our opponent plays up another creature. Hydroid Crisis will ruin it though. That's what looks like our opponent's doing. That's the bad news. Oh no, it's just friggin' okay, that's fine. That held up is quite interesting. Trashing Brontodon. Ew, I don't wanna. Now I have to go for it. The fact our opponent's trying to be careful with the negate's probably telling me that our opponent does not have negate. Well, it's possible our opponent has negate. Let's just go for it now. If he has it, so be it. That's all I got. Oh. Does our opponent... Well, our opponent does not have Root Snare. This deck list doesn't have it. So we managed to steal a win. Thank goodness. That was very close. It's actually a bit nerve-wracking, but that is our advantage over the slower decks. Hey, I miss you. I probably should make a black-white Vampire's Life Gain deck again. So not bad. 1 win, 1 loss. Kinda on par with all these stock decks. They give you a good idea on how to play. You're probably not going to win any awards in ranked or whatnot, but it's a good way to have fun. Though I wish there's a way to separate the casual from the ranked tiers even more. Oh, but that said, this one's fine. Keeping this. So turn 1 Marshall, turn 2 Instigator. Start making tokens with Mentor. Yeah, so many assumptions, so little time. But I do have to say the big advantage of this deck, yeah, you win fast or you lose fast. I suppose you can just keep drawing when the control players got control, but to be fair, it's very hard to retake control once you lose it, which might be scary for some people. But once in a while, the deck has some opportunities of coming back. Basically, my favorite one is Divine Visitation into Heroic Reinforcements. That's a very good one. So, starting to look like mono blue again. Let's see what our opponent has. Could be okay, mono blue so far. Suspect Neckveil Spray. Oh, this should be blue. This should be blue black then. So we'll make a token. Let's see him block. He's probably not expecting this. So, and we get to lightning strike something afterwards. Or not. Okay, that was very fast. I guess our opponent did mulligan to 5, so that was an issue. So mono blue. It's a very weird flavor of mono blue. Could easily be blue black for all I know. I'm definitely gonna put the skewers in. I'm actually gonna split between the skewers and the lava coils. That's it. I think 3-2 should be fine. So let's cut the integrity intervention. Let's cut the pride. Let's cut hotly. Now that we caught someone off guard with that trick, we're not gonna try to repeat that again. But we probably did scare our opponent a bit. So definitely keeping this. Shame that we don't get to play turn 1. Okay, I take it back. We get to play turn 1. So we get to have turn 3 mentor into turn 4 mentor. Not the greatest thing in the planet. And yep, definitely blue black. Whereas, sorry, I got nothing. I was expecting turn 2 Todd spot. Oh, he was just one turn too late. So definitely playing mentor to meet turn 3. Let's force him to start playing Sinister Sabotages. Because if there's anything I don't want our opponent to counter, it's the heroic reinforcements. Well, skewers. So my concern is that our opponent's probably playing with Thief of Sanity and Doom Whisper. Can't do anything about the Doom Whisper, but I can do something about Thief of Sanity. So let's play our second mentor. Let's play everything he's seen. Let's make him counter that. Second counter spell down. So we could actually heroic. Oh, the nearest spy bug. That's interesting, but okay. Let's play this one first. Then let's no negate. Yes, I'm literally ignoring the spy bug at this point. So we managed to... So Thought Erasure kills our skewer, but it doesn't kill our board. And yeah, we managed to steal another victory there. I missed the Surveil. Justice Strike. Well, it's not quite like in Helix. Also, the one creature I really want to remove would be, well, it's several. Shalai would fall in that category, so does Wild Growth Walker. Basically, the guys that have higher toughnesses than powers, so Justice Strike is not as great as it was. It does nuke some of the bigger creatures. Okay, so I might just play Sacred. I'll just probably take the hit, play Sacred Foundry. Play the Hunted Witness first. Usually we have opponents that are slightly over eager. Okay, mono blue again. We have to play into an eager opponent. Opponent's probably not gonna block. He's probably gonna go for Curious Obsession. I unfortunately don't have a response to that, so I'm gonna just have to take it. Now, that said, if our opponent's gonna go for the Merfolk Trickster plan, I'm kind of prepared. Come on, show me Merfolk Trickster. Merfolk Trickster. So we're getting that one. So I don't get the token. Let's resolve that. Block. That's okay if I don't get the token, as long as I get the Merfolk Trickster. And that's one card that I'm gonna definitely side out after this. So... Terramander, sure. Okay. So definitely playing Heroic Reinforcements. Probably has the Wizard's Report, that's always a problem. I'm gonna choose to attack though. Opponent's not been blocking. Next turn I can just crack with Memorial to Glory. Tempest, so I'm not attacking next turn. I do have a singleton Lava Core, but I'm definitely gonna bring the rest in. So it's a case to see if I can generate enough tokens to get past this field. Basically, our opponent's stuck at 3 mana. Question number 2. Let's just put this open now. So we'll get 1 token out of this. We get some damage, true, that's a good news. Well, 3-6. If our opponent plays 1 more island, doesn't look like he has to 1 more island. That's the good news. Kind of cutting it thin, but I don't have a choice. Dancing Melody, yup. Which is not too bad. At least it means I get to survive another day. Let's go to this entire board back now. So we could use a sweeper. So let's see how he blocks. That's the one block I wanted to see. That's okay too. He's blocking again there. So, okay, at least I get to clear his board. Now the bad news is, let's see, 1. I think it's alternated, so I'm not worried about that. I'm still worried about this. Yeah, that's a good game. So definitely we're bringing all the burn in. opponent has some counter spells, so Divine Visitation's gotta go, unfortunately. We need to be faster. So let's bring the lava coils in. Let's bring... Okay, he's playing Entrancing Melody, so I definitely want to bring the skewers in. Let's drop the Pride. Let's drop Unbreakable Formation. Let's drop one Heroic Reinforcement and probably one Hunted Witness. So basically trying to cut down as many of the more expensive ones. Let's get all the cheaper ones in. Hopefully we have enough burn to at least take one game off our opponent. That said, our opponent's probably gonna side and dive down, so I can't do anything. I guess I could have more creatures in the sideboard. This is not a good hand. This is a better hand. Unfortunately, I need the red mana first before I can have that, so... They Hunted Witness. Turn to Marshal into Witness. He might have... Okay, so this one's Tamer. Let's see if we can encourage our opponent. If we can get the red mana, we could snipe something down. That's pretty much the only reason I have the Fanatical Firebrand. Opponent's holding back though. Unfortunately, with the mana situation I have right now, I am gonna run into a Merfolk Trickster and I can't do anything about it. Let's go for it. It's running into the obvious. I can't do anything about it. Yeah. Or possible he didn't have it, so that's okay. We got our value. Okay, another Hunted Witness. Still need mana. So these are opponents forced off. With this kind of deck, it's hard to be afraid of opponent's threats. You really just have to play it out. That said, Entrancing Melody taking a Hunted Witness. Can't do anything about that. At least we're forcing him to use it there, but we're still stuck on mana. It's not stuck on mana. That's what it sounds. Thankfully, no Tempest Gem. Okay, Sacred Energy must play. Probably walking into a Merfolk Trickster now. I could just skewer. Complete Fanatical Firebrand. Let's bait our opponent to countering that. He's held off the mana, so he might as well counter. Let's capture. Okay, well, better that than this one. Opponent's gonna slightly catch up, but thankfully not too much. Well, when he draws Terramander, we're in trouble. So that's 4 already. There's the Terramander. And he has mana to sacrifice to save this, so that's an issue too. So I might have no choice but to go for the face. Okay, Merfolk Trickster is good, even though I lose 1, because that still has Spell Pierce. Let's do this. Because at least I know that's what the essence counter. Unfortunately, my clock is now... Yes, I'm not... I need to have a spell to remove this, but with my mana like this, I'm in real trouble. Could have a dive down. First, let's block this. Yeah, he had the dive down. Oh, the opponents with their perfect hands. I could have played this out. So much. At least we had a slightly better run than what we'd normally have. I will need to hold this back. I have to. Let's attack first. Yeah, let's attack first because I get to do 2 things. So, Naval Legion's landing. Need to skewer the critics. Target this, knowing our opponent will try and sacrifice. Or not. Yeah, our opponent's gonna sacrifice it for this. I'm just gonna save it for time. Oh well. So at least I'm not dead yet. Yeah, I have to block this one though. There's a 4th mana, but nothing I can do about it. Yeah, that's a good game. Yeah, this one came out a bit late. Actually, most of my mana came out late. That was the problem. So, there we go. At least, yeah, not too bad. Still having problems with this matchup. But I kind of know what to put in the side. In fact, we might want to put it in the main board instead. So let's claim our prize and let's see how we're gonna fix this deck in a second. I might be tempted to play around with this one next. Okay, there you go. So thank you for now. So we'll be right back when we fix up the deck a little bit. There are basically a few changes I want to make. Probably some of the one-offs need to be changed, but I guess the biggest change I want to have is the top end. Heroic Reinforcements is great, but the problem is it comes down a bit late. Either that or having the 5-drop Divine Visitation is a problem also. Anyway, so we'll take a quick break, see how we fix the deck up, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're back and well, at least I got the mana distribution right, even with mostly basics. So the few things I want to change. One, the Divine Visitation is really anti-control tech, so since this is super late game, this one has to be in the back. Rather sideboard. My sideboard, Siege Gang Commanders. This is the one that probably should be in the main board. I could start with one in the main and another one to follow. Huatli, I kind of just wanted to try her out, but in the end, she really doesn't fit the deck. So definitely gonna ditch her. In her place, we're gonna put a Johnny, which is actually much more useful. Cost cheaper too, gets cards back. Okay, we might not. It gets most of our cards back at least. So there's that. So also another change is Kinjali Sunwing will be replaced with Tukali Honor Guard. Tokatli Honor Guard, rather. Skewer the Critics is quite okay. I think I still want to keep the Lava Coil here, but maybe let's exchange it around. Skewer goes there. One skewer instead. So definitely probably want a second Unbreakable formation instead of the Pride of Conquerors. We do get enough tokens to trigger Ascend. I guess you can I guess you can have Pride of Conquerors as a cheap version of Unbreakable Formation. Pride does just as good, if not better. So I guess that's a fine pick for this deck. I'm still... Otherwise, everything else is kind of okay. So the Integrity Intervention, we sometimes catch opponents off guard with this. It's actually nice to have something that's easy to sub out, so that's something to consider. Speaking of things to consider, Hunted Witness gets us tokens. Probably not that great, and well, it's something. It's great to throw away, but sometimes it's a liability. We're not exactly playing Cavalgate of Calamity, so we could skip that. One option that we have, Skirk Prospector. Sure, we don't get the tokens, but our token strategy is coming off the sideboard now. So instead of the Hunted Witness, we just have the Skirk Prospectors. So if our opponent does something like a sweeper, we can sack everything, load up on mana. So we definitely want our spells to be instant speed. We could also use it to power up a Siege Gang at least. So since we want instant speed, Integrity Intervention's okay, that can stay. Lightning Strike stay. I think the one copy Obscure the Critic should probably just be one copy of Shivan Fire. Something to fill out. We still have Skewered the Critics on the sideboard if we want to get more aggressive. Lava Coils. Probably just cut this down to 3. I probably should have... Yeah, if you're gonna side into Kali Honor Guard, you want it all in. So this deck is more... So this deck is now more goblin-centric, with the exception of the Hasna Marshals. Basically, any way to get more tokens out, you kind of want to do that. Alternately, instead of the Marshal, which does take a while to set up, and if you don't get the setup right... Actually, we have many directions we can take this one. This is the goblin version of this. I'm quite okay with this one. I guess you could just max out on Legion War Boss, but you want to have a lot of early drops too. You want the early drops to support, well, our single Legion's landing, but having I think this is the deck that you want Hasna Marshal for. That said, by cutting with that cut, I need to change the mana base now. Okay, so first things first, let's just max this out. Cut 3 planes. So we analyze the deck now. So we should now be... Well, it's one that's actually quite cheap. 2... Yeah, we still want more red. So I might actually just cut 1 Memorial to Glory. Then actually just have an Evolving Wilds. So that one's slightly better. We still want a lot more red, but we're not too tied to red at least. So it's 8 and 6. Yeah, I guess this is a better fit. Relatively cheap to build too, if you ask me. My only concern is, well, we do have this clump here that's quite okay. So I guess this deck built this one's okay. Let's change the card grouping. Yeah, not too bad. We are definitely the proactive deck for all intents and purposes. We just want to be able to play stuff early. And yeah, I guess this is one way to build it. kind of a shame. I wanted the Divine Visitation plan to work, at least on camera. It really looked great. Well, but all the matchups we got didn't pan out that much. We did scare, but we do get a lot of wins out of nowhere from heroic reinforcements. That's probably enough for me. Actually, the Unbreakable Formation. Pride of Conquerors might not be too bad. Well, the nice thing about the formation is that, well, you're not going to surprise anyone with this, but you do get to put counters on this. That's important. So it's a more permanent buff. I guess that's an interesting question. In fact, with this many 1-drops, we don't have that many ways of pumping up and whatnot. Cavalcade is actually another fit that we can do here. I opted for the Divine plan over the Cavalcade plan because that one's also another way to win the early game. I feel like we have enough for that. But it is another way to drop the curve a bit. You could just run the Cavalcade main. We have most of the cards that we want to run. The only thing we're not running is like Goblin Gathering. Alternately, we could also have Leonin War Leader as part of our top end also. If we... Actually, you can do a mostly white build. Instead of mostly goblins, you can do mostly cats. So, for that build, you'd have Leonin Vanguard, Johnny's Pridemate, so you have a lot of buffer with the life gain. And... What's up? Mochi, what's up? Come here. And he's hiding under the bed. I guess that's my cue. So... That's it for this episode, the Magic Arena Run. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on notifications and whatnot. And there's my other dog calling his attention. I guess it's interesting to know that some of the comments are like, oh, I hear this in the background, I hear that in the background. Well, for one, it tells me that the mic I'm using is more powerful than I thought it was. It's actually just a very cheap mic. The other thing it tells me is that, well, at least the things around me matter somehow. So thank you for that. And anyway, so that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again next time.